Hello, welcome to episode 35 of Little Bobbins Knits. My name is Dani and you can find me on Ravelry and Instagram as Little Bobbins. We have a Ravelry group which you can find by searching Little Bobbins Knits in the groups tab on Ravelry, and it'd be lovely if you came and joined. And show notes for the podcast can be found at littlebobbins.co.uk. So thank you so much for being here today. It's the last few podcasts I think I've done sort of 2 weeks apart, so this one being a week after the last, I suddenly feel like I have nothing to show you, and very little progress on the things I have got to show you, but hopefully that will be fine. So today I've got some works in progress to show you, some finished objects, some sewing and some lovely things. I talk a little bit about events and we announce a new giveaway, which is very exciting. So let's get started with my first work in progress. This is actually a lovely thing. I bought this bag from Knit and Stitch Bits on Etsy and I just think it's so cute. So lovely. It's so well made. The shop is based in Australia and it got to me really quickly. I'm just so thrilled with it. I love that print and I love this little lemur just peeking around the corner there. So yeah, I couldn't resist this little bag. Very lovely. I definitely recommend that shop if you're looking for a new bag. It's a lovely size for a pair of socks too. So in here I've got my socks in the yarn that I showed you last week that I bought. It's from London House Yarns and it's the Weather the Weather colourway. And I'm probably going to say this a lot, I haven't made much progress, I say that a lot today, but you're starting to see how the stripes are going to work, which is really fun. I should have started the rib on my other sock, but I haven't yet, but I have cast on my stitches. I always use long tail cast on for my top down socks because I find it a good one to vary the tension so I don't get it too tight, but it still looks nice and neat. So yeah, I'm really enjoying these. I'm knitting them on my 2.25mm carbons, which are working fine. I tend to sort of reserve the carbons for slippery yarn because of the grab. So I don't think I need to use them on this yarn really because it's not slippery, but all of my other needles are occupied. So yes, that's that little sock. This little bag has got lovely pink lining. So sweet. I'm very pleased with it. So yes, that is work in progress number 1. My second work in progress is in my zombie bag from Betsy Makes, Sam, and I just love it. This is beautifully made as well. And in here, you can barely see it under the little needle cozy because I haven't made much progress. It's my pond sock. This is, I love this, speckly goodness. This is the yarn also that I showed you that was new last week from Bear and Vuller. It's the Pond colourway. This is her barefoot sock base, which is 80% merino, 20% nylon. It is super soft and squishy and it's really plump as well. So yes, they've had a little bit of work done on them. I'm knitting these as part of the Pond Along knit along, and that's being hosted by Regina, who has just started a lovely new podcast. It's called Herbsplat Regina podcast. think that's how you pronounce it, but I'll put links in the show notes. She's only got her first episode out and it's just lovely. Her excitement is really infectious and it's just a lovely watch, and she's knitting some really interesting projects and it's a fun one. I'm looking forward to keeping up with that podcast. So yes, Regina is hosting her first knit along for any project knit in this pond colourway from Bear and Buller. So if you have a skein or you want to get a skein, then do come and join in with that. It's going to be so fun to see the different projects that people do using the same yarn. I think that's a great idea for a knit along. I'm just doing mine regular plain socks so that the lovely speckles really show up. And I might do a contrast heel. I've got a nice orange mini skein that might work nicely. But I really like these. I'm using my Higher Sharps, my favourite DPNs, in 2.25mm. And yes, I'm hoping to get more done on those this week. They seem like they're going to be the squishiest socks when they're done. So, my next work in progress. You right, Bob? Oh, you off? Bobbins off. In my wonderful bag from Luli, Shop Luli. I love this bag. If you're considering getting one of Luli's bags, I would really recommend it. It's just beautifully made and so handy. It's been perfect for this project. And I think because the fabric is a bit more robust, you feel like you can just sort of pop your project in there and then just squish it down the side, and it's not going to get upset about that at all. It's just, yeah, really fantastic bag. And it's got the pockets inside, which are really useful. In my pockets I've got 4 bands. And I think that's it actually. I usually slot my needles down there, but I seem to have completely got no needles with this project. That's weird. So I'm knitting with the Bergère de France Bigarelle. This is an organic cotton and linen blend, and it's got some viscose. I think the viscose are the Tweedy Neps. This is the Lena Tea by Carrie Bostic Hogue. And I can't really take much credit for this because Mum has done a lot of the knitting on this for me. I've only done, all in all, I've probably done about 3 inches on it. I've done the bits that require increases, decreases, or anything that's not plain knitting. And I also did the front or the back because Mum wasn't here and I wanted it done. So yeah, this is mostly by Mum, this project. But I've got it all sewn together. Well, I say sewn together. The shoulders are joined now. There was no sewing involved. But it's now like a T. So all I've got to do now is pick up the stitches around the neck and the arms, and then put it in the washing machine and see what the fabric turns out like. I'm really intrigued to do that. So yes, I do wonder if my stitch markers got moved because the side split doesn't quite line up under the arm. Oh no, it might just be how it's hanging. Yeah, hopefully that's just how it's hanging and it'll be fine after it's blocked. But yes, so that's that. You do a bit of short row shaping around the shoulders, and for that I always use, if I ever do short rows, I pretty much always do the wrapless short rows, because I just find it's the way that I get the neatest result. and there's a great tutorial for that on Isolde's website. I've got it linked in my project page, and I'll try and link it in the show notes as well, because it's such a great way of doing short rows. I find that when you have to pick up the wraps, I'll sometimes forget. I'll just knit past and won't pick up the wrap, and then you'll have the hole, or I won't pick it up quite right and you'll be able to see where the wrap is. But I just find it's just so neat with the wrapless short rows, you just can't see anything. So I really like that. And I don't know if I've done something wrong here or not, because when you were doing the last row, in the pattern it said to do a knit row on the wrong side, which means that there is this garter stitch ridge on the shoulders. I don't know if it's supposed to be there. I haven't looked at the pattern, but even if it's not supposed to be there, I quite like it because it shows the slope of the shoulder, and you've got the garter stitch either side. So I'm okay with it if it's not supposed to be there, because I quite like it as a little detail. And if it is supposed to be there, then I like that detail. But I don't know if it's supposed to be or not. But I'm going to get this done over the, well, hopefully today actually. I'd really like to get it done and in the washing machine so that I can see what the fabric comes out like. So I think that would be really interesting. And I did try it on and it fits really well, so I hope it doesn't stretch too much. I didn't swatch this project, which is silly. I excuse me. I should have, but I didn't. And if I had, I would have needed to, as you have to treat your swatches exactly how you're going to treat the finished garment, I would have had to knit my swatch in the round and then put that swatch in the washing machine. And I'm just too impatient. At the time I think I was just too impatient for that. I just wanted to cast it on. So I hope that wasn't a mistake. But if it is, it's the sort of top that will be fine if it's even more oversized than it already is, I think. I hope. I added a few inches to the length because it was just shorter than I'd like. And I've only got this much yarn left. So that will be enough to do my cuffs and neckband. But glad I didn't knit it any longer because I might have run out. So yes, hopefully next podcast this will be completely finished, because that will feel good to finish something. Next I need to tackle my water lily, because that is just, it's annoying me at the moment. I only have the front to do, the front lace bit, and it's just the Latvian braid that's putting me off. And not because it's difficult, but because it's just a bit of a faff. So it's just really putting me off. But yeah, anyway, I'll talk more about that when I actually do the knitting on it. I've got wild cherry green tea today in my favourite new mug. I just love it. On Saturday, David and I went to Bath, and there's an anthropology there, and I found this mug. It's so cute. It's got little pictures of CAT heads. If I say the CAT word, Bobbin will get all overexcited. You can't say the CAT word, and you can't even say the baby version of a CAT, because Bobbin goes and investigates out in the garden to see if he can see one. But I really love this little mug. It's so cute. And Bobbin was allowed in anthropology too, so that made me happy. My last work in progress probably looks very similar to last time. I think it will until I have finished this part. It's my Newsome. I just did a few more rows on it. This pattern is by Bristol Ivy and it's what I'm doing for our purposeful stash along. Some people, I need to open the threads for the finished objects because I'm just amazed at how fast some of you are. It's just incredible. I didn't really think about opening the threads because I thought, oh well, it's a 3-month long knit along, we won't need them for a while, will we? But we do, because you're so fast. So I'll open those today. But yes, this is my Newsome. I forgot to mention something last time. I'm doing a different edge. In the pattern you just knit, but I'm knitting the last stitch of the row through the back loop and then slipping the first stitch purlwise. I think I'll have to check my notes. It's in my project page how I'm doing my edges, but I was concerned that just knitting them would lead to a bit of a bumpy edge and I didn't really want that. So this gives you a much straighter and stretchy and a bit more substantial edge, I think. So I quite liked that. I hope that will be okay in the overall look of the pattern. I'm sure it will. I just wasn't sure that I would be happy with the bumpy bits if I didn't do that. So yes, this is just pretty similar to how it was before, isn't it? I'm knitting this on Higher Sharps Interchangeables 3.75mm. I'm using Rowan Felted Tweed yarn in the clay colourway, which I'm really enjoying. It's an alpaca, wool and viscose blend, and I really like it, but I'm not very sensitive. I think if you were a bit sensitive, it might be a bit scratchy. But I'm enjoying it because I'm not very sensitive, and I think it will be a bit softer anyway when it's washed too, so yeah, I'm enjoying that. So, oh, and I've still got the tea from Laura in here, so it's making my bag smell so lovely. I will get round to actually drinking that tea soon. So I started, well, I didn't start, I picked up a sewing project. I'm really feeling the need to finish some things, and not that you could tell because I've started 2 new things as well. Is it just 2? I think it's just 2. But I am feeling the need to finish some things. So I dug out a project that I started probably about 7 years ago. It might be more, I'm not sure. But I started this quilt. It's Japanese folded patchwork. And I've made this much of it so far. I won't be able to put it all in the frame, I don't think. So it's the length that it will be. You can see that. But I've got 4 more rows that I need to quilt and sew on. So I thought, why not get that out to do a little bit? I've put all the squares in this bag by Fondant Fibre. And I was quite organised. I was quite impressed with myself actually, because I found the key that I'd made 7 years ago. I was convinced I must have lost this, but I found it. So that was a good start. And I've got all of my rows in separate bags. So some of them have been quilted and some of them have just been basted. So I've just got stacks of these. Japanese folded patchwork is really lovely. I love it because it's portable and you're only working on these tiny little squares at a time. And I really like that. I don't have a walking foot for my machine and I don't think I've got the stamina to do a proper quilt top, batting, backing, baste it and then quilt it by hand. I don't think I would, at the moment I don't think I could do that. So I really like these little portable sweet blocks that you then quilt, sew on invisibly, and then your quilt's quilted and made. I really like that. So I'll put, if you're interested in how you do this, I'll put a tutorial in the, or a link to a tutorial in the show notes. But what you basically do is you have a circle template and you fold the edges of your back fabric around that template and iron it, and then you have your square of top fabric and your square of batting, and you press, well I don't know if I pressed it actually, and you baste the circle round the square and it makes this shape. So this one hasn't been quilted yet, it's just been basted and I need to quilt it and then sew it on. But yes, I'd really love to have that finished. I have this quilt out actually downstairs on my spinning chair, but I'd really like it to be an actual proper finished quilt. I think that would be lovely. And 7 years is quite a long time to have a project hanging around, isn't it? So this weekend I quilted a few and I can see that some of my quilting where I'm getting a bit more impatient is a bit untidier than I would like. And I have to say with this, because I started it so long ago and I'm sort of better practiced at sewing and things now, it's not as neat as I would like. So I might have to go back and sew some bits up a bit neater. But yes, maybe next week, or what if I could have that as a goal? Maybe I could have another strip sewn on. What do you think? Oh, I'd like that. We'll see. I'll try and do that because it would be lovely to move with this as a finished quilt, not just as half a quilt and then blocks in bags. Because that's no good. So yes, that is also a work in progress that I've had going on this week. I've been very inspired by Sarah's podcast, Love Sockwool. Obviously I love her podcast because she's really lovely and she knits lots of fantastic socks. But she's also been doing a lot of quilts and using quilt as you go technique. That really appeals to me for the same sort of reason. You're working on a small area and you're sort of part the way there before your backing's on. So you do minimal quilting, I think, when your backing's on, which is really appealing to me because I don't have a walking foot and pushing all of that fabric through my machine can get a bit hairy, so I have to go and use Mum's machine when I do proper quilting. I say it like I do it often. I've done one quilt or two. If it's two, yeah, it is two actually, but the other one I did is a very small lap quilt. Anyway, so yes, I love this quilt as you go technique that Sarah has been playing with, and I actually ordered the book that she recommended on her podcast, so I'm very excited for that to come. It looks like a really fun technique, and that's what made me dig that quilt out, because I thought I shouldn't really start another quilt when I've still got that lingering in the background. So hopefully that book will come very soon. But yeah, I'm excited about that. So that's my sewing. Just have another sip of my tea. Now I have a couple of finished objects. I have finished my Misty alpaca socks. These are going to be for Mum, and I just love them. They're so soft and just so lovely. This yarn was just such a pleasure to use. They are going to be the cosiest socks. I only used 55 grams, so I think I'll get another pair of socks out of the leftovers if I do contrast cuff, heel and toe. Because my feet are a bit bigger than Mum's, so I think I'll need to add those in. But yeah, I did my regular wedge toe as I was paying a little bit more attention and was able to stop when it was the right size. Little contrast heel in a mini skein from the Wool Barn. And yeah, they're just lovely. My sock blockers are the ones I showed you last week. They're the ones from Loop in London, which I really, really like. So yes, 2 socks. Very happy with those. I'm entering these in the Rainbow Cal, which is being hosted by Mina from the Knitting Expat podcast. And so that's good. But if you wanted to join in with that, I think it goes on for another little while, so you've got long enough to knit a project and join in with that knit along. So yes, very, very pleased with those. They're very soft. Can't decide whether to give them to Mum now or save them and have a little jump start on Christmas. I think that might be quite good, even though she'll see them because she watches the podcast, but she'll forget by December, won't she? Just hide them. So yeah, I love those. My second work in progress, no, this is a finished object, is my Blom shawl. This is by Mandarines, and I just blocked it. I did a test knit for this for Melody of Mandarines, and she also has the Mandarines podcast. And yeah, I did a test knit for it a while ago, obviously, before it was released. And I had a skein left, so I was really tempted to undo the bind off and extend it a bit. So that's why it hasn't been blocked yet. I was umming and ahhing about whether to do that or not. But then I decided that I wouldn't, because I might like to use this skein in another pattern that I've got coming up. But it's such a pretty shawl. It was really fun to do. That was another reason why I was thinking about maybe extending it, because it was so fun. These little flower stitches were just so fun to do. I enjoyed knitting this so much, and the yarn's lovely as well, which always makes a difference, doesn't it? I blocked it quite aggressively because I thought it was going to be quite small, and I think it's made it quite a nice size. Just a little. I like the shape that it blocked out because it's really rounded on the bottom. I'd probably wear it like that. So it's just big enough to be under a coat. So I really like that. But yeah, it's really rounded at the bottom, which is nice. So it's good to have that finished, properly finished, not just waiting to be blocked. I knit that in this rosy green wool, Manx Merino Fine. And this is, I wanted to try this yarn because Manx Lockton are an endangered sheep breed. There are less than 1,500 female animals. and this wool is very environmentally friendly because the dyes that they use are all organically certified, I think. They adhere to strict regulations and don't use harmful chemicals. They also have strict checks for residues and work under controlled and fair working conditions. And part of each scheme's profit is donated to the Rare Breed Survival Trust, which is committed to the protection of endangered sheep breeds in Great Britain. So I really wanted to try this yarn, and it is one of the most beautiful yarns I've ever used. It feels absolutely lovely. I don't know if you can see, it's got just the most beautiful heathered quality to it. So I just thoroughly enjoyed this yarn. I don't think you can get it now because it's made, you'll be able to get it again next year, I think, but because it's from the Rare Breeds, they're only a small batch of skeins. So yeah, I really, really enjoyed that yarn. If you can ever get hold of some rosy green wool, I'd recommend it. It's a lovely one to use. But this is going to be saved now to use with in a project that I've got waiting. So eager to get on the needles. So, lovely things. I got a lovely package from Lee, who's Luli, who has the Shop Luli shop, and she also has the podcast Luli, which I'll put links to in the show notes. She let me rehome some of her yarn for the project that this yarn will be going into. It's 2 skeins of blacker yarns, Shetland. It's a turquoise colour. It's just, these yarns that are like this one and this one, the sort of more breed specific natural yarns, the heather that you get going on in them is just so beautiful. They have such a depth and just a quality that you don't see in all yarns. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it. It's subtle and beautiful. I'm just thrilled to have been able to rehome this. Thank you so much, Lee. So these skeins are going to be going in my Enchanted Messer jumper by Stephen West that I'm so desperate to cast on. I want to finish my Newsome cardigan before I cast it on because I'm hoping that I'll have some leftovers from that I can put in to my jumper as well. I'm so excited. If you've been keeping an eye on the thread, Teresa has just finished her Enchanted Messer. It looks so amazing. And she finished it in incredible time as well. It looks like it's going to be the most fun jumper to knit. So I'm gathering all of my bits and bobs together. I've got a bag in the other room with all of my colours together. I'm very excited to start gauge swatching and things like that. But I'll show you more about that when we get to it as well. So, my other lovely things. So, like I said, on Saturday, David and I went to Bath. It was about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Neither of us knew what we wanted to do. I think it's just with everything that's going on, neither of us are particularly good at making decisions at the moment, and we knew we wanted to do something but we didn't know what, and so at 2 o'clock in the afternoon we thought it would be a good idea to take a 2-hour drive to a wool shop that closed in 3 hours. Because why wouldn't you do that? So we went to a Yarn Story in Bath, and it is the most fantastic shop. It's just lovely. They sell luxury yarns. There's nothing particularly commercial there that I can remember. If there was, I didn't notice. I don't think there was. They have brands like Hedgehog Fibres, which is what I've got in my bag just there, and the Uncommon Thread. Shibui, is that how you say it? They have those yarns as well. Life in the Long Grass. So really lovely, unusual yarns that you can't find in yarn shops over here. I don't know, it seems like yarn shops in America are slightly different to here, because over here the yarn shops mostly sell commercial yarns. You can't, it's quite rare, I think, to find a yarn shop that sells yarn from independent dyers. My local yarn shop certainly doesn't, and I think there's only 2 that I've been to, and there might be more, I just haven't been to them. And if you do know about yarn shops that sell independent yarns in this country, I'd love to hear about it. But the only 2 I know of are A Yarn Story and Yak in Brighton. Because Yak sell Eden Cottage and they sell the Uncommon Thread as well, and lovely yarns. So yeah, apart from those 2 yarn shops, I haven't been in one that sells independent yarns. And it's lovely to be able to go and see these yarns in person, yarns that you would usually have to buy online. Much prefer seeing yarns in person. It's so much nicer, isn't it? Because you get to feel it and you get to see what the colours are really like without being distorted by your computer screen. And you get to know, because lots of yarns, like Hedgehog at the moment, is everywhere. And I'm certainly tempted to get some because it's everywhere, and I think, oh, if everyone really likes it, it must be really good. But it's really nice to be able to go somewhere, feel it and see it for yourself, to know whether you think it's really good or whether it's just being hyped up or something. So I was really pleased to be able to see Hedgehog Fibres. And I have to say, I get the hype. It's just lovely. The colours in there are gorgeous and the yarn is very, very soft. It's beautiful. So I'm really looking forward to knitting with this. This is the birthday cake colourway. And I had to get this one because it made me think of Kemper, who is Raybot, who has the Junk Yarn podcast, because she's knitting a cardigan out of this. And I just think that would look so amazing. So I had to get some. Mine will just be socks, I haven't got enough for a cardigan, but I just thought that was so fun, so I had to try this colour too. It's just beautiful. I've wanted to try this for a while, but it's very expensive. Not necessarily for what it is, I'm sure it's worth it, but it wasn't in my budget to be able to get some with the postage on top, because the postage is a substantial amount of the cost. So I was really pleased to be able to just go along and get some from that shop. If you're ever in Bath, you have to go to A Yarn Story. It's just such a beautiful shop. There's a lovely atmosphere in there, it's cosy, there's just beautiful things to look at everywhere, and it was so hard just to come away with 2 skeins. I think there is another wool shop in Bath called Wool. We didn't go to that because we didn't have time. And I think there's also a sewing shop called The Makery, so I need to investigate that. I've seen The Makery at quilt shows before and they sell really lovely things. So yeah, next time we go back to Bath, we'll have to investigate those 2 as well. And I think we definitely will go back to Bath because it was just such a lovely place. I wished that we had more time, so next time we go we'll have to make sure we leave ourselves more time. I also got the Budgie colourway because I thought that was just so pretty. I I love budgies. They have the most beautiful colours, don't they? So yes, I'm very excited to knit with this. It's going to be very special yarn. I also couldn't resist this. It's a little narwhal stitch marker. I love narwhals. They're so cute. So yeah, had to get that little stitch marker too. And bobbin came into the shop, which was fun. So it's always nice when we don't have to, when we can take bobbin along and we don't have to worry about getting someone, well, get mum to look after him because he only stays with mum. So I'm very, very pleased we got to go to that shop. And I'm looking forward to going back. Maybe with more of a plan, because I went in there and I was just like, oh, it's so lovely. I've forgotten everything that I want to knit that I know of. So, yeah. And the lifelong quest to be more organised, that continues. So, events. This weekend is Fibre East in Bedford, and it's a fantastic yarn festival or wool festival. There's lots of fibre for spinning and lots of yarn, lots of tools for spinning and spinning wheels and things like that. It's a great show. I've been every year, I think, since it started. We might have missed one year actually. But yeah, we always go, apart from Mum can't come with me this year, which I'm really sad about. So I'm going to that on Sunday, so if you see me there and want to come and say hello, I would love to say hello to you. It should be really fun. I've been saving up a little bit so that I can treat myself to a few things. But I'm very excited about that. So yes, if you're there on the Sunday, I would love to say hi. It's on Saturday and Sunday. So yes, that will be very exciting. And I was going to start a new giveaway today. Now the lovely Deb from Fondant Fibre gave us this skein of yarn to give away. It's the Tweety Pie on a spangle gold base. It is so bright and cheerful. From Fondant Fibre, fondantfibre.com. So thank you so much, Deb. So appreciated. So I thought what would be fun is if you tell me in the thread what colour combination makes you happy and where can you find it. So I was thinking like pink and green and black might make you happy, and you can find that in a watermelon. Or brown, black and grey might make you happy, and you can find that in a bobbin. Can't you, bobbin? Do you want a biscuit? He's so grumpy today. So yeah, that colour combination makes me happy because it's the colour of bobbin. Isn't it, bobbin? Good boy. So yeah, I thought that would be quite fun if you can tell me what your favourite colour combination is and where you can find that colour combination. So I'll start the thread up for that today. I still haven't heard from the person who won the Suffolk Socks giveaway, so do get in touch so that we can get that organised. You good boy. You had fun in Bath, didn't you? Yeah. Seems very dog friendly in Bath, which makes it a lot easier for us. It's nice to be able to take Bobbin into the shops. Anyway, so yes, if you're coming to Fibre East on Sunday, do come and say hello because I'd really love to meet you. And if not, then I hope you have a really lovely weekend and rest of your week. And I'll look forward to seeing you in the next episode. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.